Back in Poland in 2006 at a conference to discuss sustainable economic development in the EU, I found villagers demonstrating against the health and social impacts of factory farming. Inside, I heard, yet again, about the thinking behind the shift from local communities to global economies.
What is going to happen in rural areas in Poland, I can tell you that. There is the area of reforming the agricultural activities. And then there is the issue of what do we do with the people that eventually are being set free, because agriculture is getting more productive and people will not be able to work there anymore. So what we are trying to do is to develop alternative activities to help the rural areas to become, well, I'm not saying competitive, but to become economically viable.
Chciałbym tą satysfakcję na rolnictwie robić. Tylko to jest, że tak nie ma opłacalności, nie? A te hale ci stoją. Zobacz, te hale ci stoją. Widzisz, tutaj nie?
To co oni tam robią? They're making parts for cars.
Wow, I suppose that's development. Come on, boys, get off the land and get a job making car parts. The foreign retailers came to Poland in the early 90s and provided a growing market for industrially produced pork. Outside one supermarket, a disgruntled customer told me what he thought.
Oh. Nic w smaku. Tak jakby wszystko było na czymś robione. Stacje te chemikalia.
Under the onslaught of big retailers, many farmers' markets and small shops have disappeared, but some are clinging on.
Proszę bardzo.
Klienci moi zapewniają mnie, że mięso moje jest bardzo dobre i w supermarkecie kupili raz czy dwa i skończyli już kupowanie z mięsem, bo mówią, że to niesmaczne, gumiaste mięso.
Here in Poland, that people prefer meat from such a small firms. People know that I have to apologize for the word that I will use, but people knows that the meat from pig factories is bullshit.
No moja przyszłość już z góry będzie stracona. Nie mam szans ich przebić cenowo, nie mam szans w ogóle, nie za duże są, zjedzą nas po prostu.
When I revisited Bolesław's Grodziec, he explained how powerless he felt in the face of the advance of industrial agriculture.
My nie mamy żadnego wpływu na to, że ta firma nam szkodzi. Nawet na dobrą sprawę nie mamy gdzie się poskarżyć, że ta firma robi nam krzywdę. No, a to wynika tylko z tego, że ta firma jest duża, że jest ogromna. Gdyby ona była mniejsza, pewnie jej wpływy byłyby mniejsze. Właśnie to bardzo dobrze to powiedział. To jest ta ogromna korporacja, która gdzieś tam przyjechała. Dla nas to jest dosłownie, to jest inwazja. No. To jest pająk, który siedzi na całej kuli ziemskiej. Widać, w jaki sposób, czym jest ta globalizacja. To jest coś ogromnego, które wysysa soki z tej ziemi, z ludzi. To jest taki ogromny pająk, pasożyt taki, który żeruje tutaj na nas.
To jest wstyd mówienia ministra, premiera, gdyby takie rzeczy mówią, że dzisiaj chłopi przyjechali spuszczać powietrze.
Last year, Polish farmers were on the streets again.
Którą wyraził dzisiaj pan Andrzej Leper. Dla mnie jest to skandal.
Będziemy żądali zamknięcia tych dużych ferm w Polsce, no i tego dzikiego importu.
Oczywiście dzisiaj największym problemem w produkcji trzody chlewnej jest największa korporacja na świecie, jaką jest Smithfield Woods, który przejął polski Animex w roku 99.
30% niżej cen kosztów produkcji dostajemy teraz. Czyli dokładamy z własnych kieszeni, żeby sprzedać, żeby utrzymać nasze rodziny, to musimy, nie wiem skąd, teraz musimy chyba jechać do Anglii albo do Irlandii, zarabiać, wszystko pozamykać.
Nie wiem, czy pójdę na emeryturę, czy się powieszę, czy co zrobię, czy wyjadę.
So-called cheap meat from factory farms has flooded every market in the EU. And Smithfield has ambitious distribution plans for the UK. In 2008, its web page, using a bit of artistic license with a pig on grass, announced their aim to dominate, or in their own words, to be the preferred supplier to the UK retail and food service industry. To you and me, that's restaurants, schools, prisons, hospitals, etc. So I went to America to check out what Britain's supermarkets could look like. Smithfield, 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 Smithfield. Loads and loads and loads of Smithfield food dominating the pork section.
This is the Walmartization and commoditization of every product. Smithfield is producing these uniform cuts, which is what, Walmart wants it to do. And in the meantime, they're homogenizing and they're diminishing quality of life for everybody in this country. And I don't think it's good for America. It's not good for our food supply. It's not good for our food security.
In 2006, I was refused permission to interview their chief executive, Joe Luter. However, to my delight, in 2008, they granted me an interview. Okay, so I'm just off to Smithfield to interview Dennis Tracy, who's their environmental walla, an attorney. Terrifying. They must absolutely loathe me, but I'm sure they'll be extremely polite, and they will reject every single thing that I say. Tracy was there.
Hi, Dennis Tracy. How are you?
Okay.
Welcome to Smithfield. I want to say I really appreciate you all coming here and talking to us. I mean, I know that you may not agree with what we do, but we really take pride in what we think we're doing, and I appreciate you giving us the shot to at least talk to you about it.
If you've got 10 million pigs, and the research that I did, and you could question this, but that they defecate 10 times more than a human being, you've got the equivalent of 100 million people defecating every day in a very small area. Surely we've got to understand that there's going to be a hell of a lot of people who are suffering from the stench, and whose fishing and whose swimming in the rivers is going to be jeopardized by that system.
The system is operated in a way that is not supposed to allow that. As far as things running off into the water, if that happens, that's against the law and it's wrong. Over-applying this material to the field is against the law. Having it drift onto somebody's property is against the law. We go out of our way and go to extraordinary lengths to make sure that we have a system in place that doesn't allow that. I don't know how it was 20 years ago or even 15 years ago, but I know how it is today.
My feeling is if the big industrial producers, gosh, there's a whole bunch of them. I think Smithfield's the largest. But if all of these big guys who have industrialized this practice were made to pay the full cost of environmental protection and disposing of their waste, any family farmer in America, any family farmer in this world, I think, could outcompete them at the marketplace.
The destruction of the small farm wasn't casual, it's systematic. It is the intention, it's the way that they make money, it's the design of this industry. Once a company owns both the slaughterhouse and some of the farms, it destroys the capacity of the farmers to organize and to form those cooperatives. And ultimately, it's the end of the independence of farmers, and they're no longer what we call farmers in this country, they're what they call serfs in Europe. They are no longer in control of their own lives.
You say that it's a natural progression that 20,000 independent farmers should go. Is it not related to the fact that you opened an enormous slaughterhouse and therefore could decide who you buy your pigs from?
Well, you can argue that, certainly. I think the common misconception that a lot of folks have is that companies like Smithfield go into our conference room and have a big discussion about how we're going to dominate the market and run people out of business and then sell our wares to the marketplace, and that just isn't so. We are responding to what our customers ask for, which is large quantities of meat products in a very short period of time, and they want it. And they want it in a particular cut, in a particular fashion.
You're talking about the retail outlets. That's your customer.
Yes, not the consumer. No. I'm talking about the customer, either the grocery store or the restaurant, whoever it may be.
Smithfield is one of the biggest food companies in America, and like many big companies is a regular contributor to politicians in the states where it operates.